Turn our attention now to activity in the construction industry, and that's as the sector's development board has released the confidence index in the SME industry there, and it's showing that confidence in the construction industry has increased tremendously. This is despite a decline in business activity in recent months. To unpack this further, we are joined by the CEO of the CIDB Bongani Dladla. Thank you so much for your time. Let's first talk about the small uptick. Yes, it comes amid certain issues and the slow growth within the construction sector, but this is one to be welcomed.
Oh, yes, certainly, and thank you very much to you and all your viewers. It's quite important that we all understand that when there is an uptake in confidence in any business sector, it allows for those business people and entities to invest in the economy because they can see a future in it. So it's quite important that we maintain such high confidence, but also as all stakeholders, we also play our part to ensure that it materializes to increased investment in the sector and also increase in employment.
Let's also talk about the attributing factors to this uptick in confidence, especially because we are talking of a time in South Africa where infrastructure build is not necessarily at a pace that is quite fast.
Oh, yes, that is a huge challenge, and if we as stakeholders don't resolve that, we will be doing a country disservice, as there is much need for infrastructure and projects that are ready for investment. But this uptake really comes from in different parts of the construction industry. If you're looking at the general buildings, practitioners, they felt that the tendering pricing are now starting to make sense in terms of tendering competition, but you still have quite a low activity, and which we can all evidence. But when you're looking at the civil engineering space, they feel that activity has slightly increased, albeit from a small base, but that has given confidence to saying that the right ingredients for the growth of the sector are there.
And confidence, Bongani, directly speaks to sentiment within the industry. As noted earlier, the last couple of years have not been kinder to the construction industry due to that slowdown in the infrastructure build in South Africa. You spoke about sustainability and making sure that there is resilience going forward in this industry. Where would that come from? We do know that the state is also still committed to its infrastructure projects, which are yet to materialize.
Yes, it's quite important that we understand the role that client departments have to play when it comes to infrastructure development. At the CIDB, we firmly believe that those that are not capable to deliver on such much needed infrastructure must not be given the responsibility to do so. So what we do also when we're looking at standardizing of the procurement system to ensure that very little cancellations happen, and also there is a faster pace in terms of infrastructure delivery. So it's quite important that the infrastructure clients understand their role and implement accordingly. And we have to look at that very closely because the projects are there. There is investment that the government has made and also the private sector, because there's been quite a bit of investment in that. But we just need to make sure that it materializes in boots on the ground projects being implemented, because it's not just those individual companies that benefit. We know of the contribution of the construction industry to employment. It has huge multiplier effect, but also the businesses that it supports along the way. So it's quite important that infrastructure clients play their part in terms of ensuring a timely delivery of projects, and we have construction companies that are ready to execute.
I'm glad that you mentioned the private sector in this regard, and I'm interested in finding out with this reading, to what extent do they feature in this report?
The private sector, when you're looking at the construction industry, you will mostly see their activities in the general buildings sector. So when you're looking at general buildings, that would be your building of your estate, your malls and all that. There is a slightly drop in activity, but the pricing that the contractors are seeing around that are making it possible for them to execute that work. So they need to be a high uptake there also of ensuring that all the developments that have been committed and planned are going forward. But the private sector is really playing their part in ensuring that we have a sustainable construction industry also.
Seeing as there's an uptick in confidence and sentiment is improving, what's to be said about jobs being created or more jobs being created in this sector?
there is a huge potential, especially coming from where we are coming from with COVID, how it messed up the industry. But there is huge potential because the construction industry caters also for both the skilled and the unskilled. As the President was saying earlier on, the levels of unemployment being at a really unsustainable level for the country, it is important for the investments in those sectors that have proven to be having multiplier effect. And there's been a lot of efforts in that front when you're looking at also entities like Infrastructure South Africa trying to get these projects shovel ready, to saying that now when it goes to the infrastructure clients, they need to be able to execute their part when it comes to creating the much needed employment for our country.
Thank you so much for your time. CIDB CEO Bongani Dladla speaking to us about that uptick in confidence in the SME element of the construction sector.